Dr. David Whitehouse is an astronomer and space writer. He's been talking to Li Jianhua.
China has a very impressive and forward-looking space program. Surely, looking back over its history, one thing that comes out is how focused on development the space program was. It had specific goals to achieve: the first satellite, the first astronaut in space, the first communication satellites. And it carried it out methodically and very efficiently indeed. So although its launch rate was, until fairly recently, much less than rockets launched in the West, it did so with more purpose and with more achievement on each launch. So it can look back to the first launches, the first satellite, indeed the first cosmonaut, and recently the first space station it had, knowing that they were very well achieved. They are impressive, well regarded globally, and obviously part of a long-term program which it is executing very well indeed, and is causing much interest and much comment with other space nations and other space programs around the world.
And China always has these long-term, medium-term plans, including for its space exploration programs. So how has China Space Day evolved from your perspective, from your understanding, from a domestic milestone into something with more international visibility now?
Well, when I first started reporting on China and talking to Chinese space scientists, it was, I can say, quite difficult to get information from them. What we obtained was very broad, very rough details, which weren't actually much more than we knew already. So it was very much a game of conjecture and analysis and reading between the lines, because I spoke to many space scientists and indeed space politicians in China who were obviously not able to explain exactly what their long-term goal was, even though we both understood what that means. Nowadays, it is much more easier access. It is much more interesting. There are far more people in China involved in space, not only with the state-sponsored space effort, but with private individual companies. They're doing far more things, from exploration of the moon and onto Mars, communications, Earth observations, tracking, navigation. They're doing far more things, far more open about it. And nowadays, you can do what you couldn't do 20 years ago, is you go to an exhibition and actually talk to the engineers and the scientists involved in building their space future, because they understand, perhaps more than even the Americans have until recently, that there is a future space ecology that is vital for business, industry and progress on Earth.
I'm pretty sure that you are watching this show today because there are some new findings from Chang'e 5 samples, including the discovery of 2 new lunar materials. So what can that tell us about the formation of the moon?
Well, China really has it kick-started many aspects of lunar exploration by being able to return samples from the moon. Also being able to land on the far side of the moon, which is something that nobody's ever done before. So they really have had an impressive series of achievements in unmanned exploration of the moon and returning samples from the moon for the first time since the Soviet Union did it in the 1970s. It's a part of the moon that geologists really look to for having the deposits to, if we could study them, to analyze the history of the surface bombardment of the moon and the history of the development of the moon's interior.